What is going on, everybody, and welcome to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, the dad bod god himself, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, my guest is going to be Diego, the PWA ring announcer, Dancing Diego. Dance, Diego, dance. And you know what? I'm excited for this conversation because every time I'm on a show or at a show and Diego's there, we always have such great conversation. And we thought, why not do it on the podcast? So here he is tonight. But guys, before we get into tonight's show, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause for that fucking cause to help some of our sponsors and help us keep these lights on in the Austin household and up in this bitch. First up is healthvape.com. Now listen, all you filthy cigarette smokers, you filthy vapors, you need to check out healthvape.com. These guys have you covered. They are your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products, no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They restore that energy while giving you the vital boost that you need, and they're vitamin infused. So check out their vape and pod products. Use the promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, is sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS. Now, if you're an athlete or someone you know is an athlete, you need to get them onto sleefs.com. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty boxes that you're all raving about, that you hear me raving about. They've sent me boxes of these boxes, guys, and I have to say, these boxes are the most comfortable boxes that I own. I'm going to say boxes one more time. Boxes. But guys, I'm an active guy. These boxes stay fresh, they stay dry, and they've got some funky designs at the front that are going to keep the special person in your life giggling when that belt buckle comes undone at the end of the day, if you know what I'm saying. But guys, check out Sleeves, check out those dirty boxes, use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount, baby. Guys, also, wherever you are finding us, we are glad that you are finding us. But if you're checking us out on YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, share, all that good shit. If you're finding us on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. We appreciate it. We appreciate everyone tuning in. But guys, you can check out shows like tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Australian time, which is 8 p.m. USA Eastern, for Killing the Business with ECW Original, The Kingpin, Angel motherfucking Medina, and King Mega, where they're breaking down everything that's happening in the wrestling world. So make sure you tune in for that shit. Check out Nights of the Gimmick Table, hosted by the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo Lowrider, and the Deathmatch star himself, Cade Lothbrock. And guys, we got the NXT Roundup and Shooting the Shit Uncensored with me. So make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you give us a follow. But guys, without further ado, let's get into my one-on-one conversation with Dance Diego. Dance, baby.
Hey.
Hey, boom, we're live. What's going on, brother?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm great to finally have you on the show, man. Like, I feel like as I said in the intro, dude, every time that I see you, we always have such a great conversation. So I thought, you know what, we got to do it on the show.
Sure. Bring everyone in. The more the merrier,
Yeah,
I say.
exactly, dude. But dude, like, just talking before, man, like, you guys just coming off the King of the Metro show that you guys just had at one of the most iconic venues in Australia at the Metro Theatre. Dude, how was it to be in there live? Like that, it looked like the crowd was off its head.
It was absolutely unreal. Like, usually, since I've come back, when we start shows, I'm usually already at the table and watching everyone come in, and then it's like, all right, I get the message, Diego, get in the ring. But for this one, I was like, no, I want to walk out, and I just wanted to, I want to get the chance to take it all in, and it was absolutely insane. Like, I'd never been in the metro before, so I wasn't really used to. I walked in, I was like, oh, it's smaller than I thought, but it's not until like you get 500 people in there and the lights are up and everything's ready and you walk out and they're loud. The atmosphere was awesome. Like, the whole show from top to tail went so well. It's such a good night and such a good, like, a good start to wherever PWA is going to go from there.
Yeah, 100%. And, as I was saying, like, I watched the show again just today because I had the opportunity to. And, man, it was such a good show. And watching it again, it was just like, it was so enjoyable. And there was so many good turns. And speaking to Carter Deems last week, and the turn with him joining SMS, I even said, like, that's the shit that makes me fall in love with wrestling all over again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's the shit that hooks, you know what I mean? Like, that sort of twist and turn is the stuff that really hooks people in.
Yeah, that long-term story got everyone really well, especially like when they were all around him and it was like the one to the hand, two to the hand, three, and then
Yeah.
Carter. Like, I saw people's reactions in the crowd. They were like, no fucking way. Like, I think the crowd, especially like a smart crowd like we have now in wrestling, for them to be
Yeah.
of none of them saw this coming, which is a nod to us as storytellers to be able to get that whole story through and to pay it off without anybody predicting what was actually going to happen. So for that payoff, for that pop, I thought it was sick.
Dude, but that's the thing in wrestling, right? Like, especially now, everybody knows what the fuck's going to happen. Cody Rhodes is going to come back to WWE. This person's going to debut over here. Well, you know what I mean? Like, when it happens, everyone's just like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Like, there's no element of surprise anymore. And I think that you
Yeah.
guys were really able to hit the nail on the head with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the one thing in wrestling that the longer you're in wrestling, the more you can predict patterns. It's like, oh, this is how a story's going to go. It's going to fly like this. It's going to end like this. And the same thing is with fans, because like myself, we all started as fans quite young. So as we have grown into adults, we can actually see the progression of how wrestling goes from when we were kids to when we were now that we're adults, and we can see the pattern. So it's a lot easier for us to be able to predict things that we see. We're like, oh, okay, this is going to go this way. So anytime you can actually have something that absolutely completely surprises everyone, it's just such a magical thing. Like, in storytelling, in wrestling, in anything, it's the same as the moment when not exactly the same level, but in Avengers, when you see Mjolnir shake and Captain America catches it.
Yeah.
Like, I see footage of YouTube clips of people in the cinema losing their mind because no one saw it coming. It's the shit that no one can see coming. When it's finally happened to them, they're like, fuck. And when you can do something like that in pro wrestling, which which is so it's so like it's looked at so deeply with a microscope. It's like every little thing is examined in that. So when you can get a really good surprise or a whole story through without any predictions and stuff like that, it's just a magical thing.
Oh, dude, I completely agree. And you know what? It hooks people as well. Like,
Mm,
people that may have been like on the fence going, yeah, I'll come and check out a show, and then seeing, all right, like, I'm kind of following this story, like, oh, what the fuck just happened here? You know what I mean?
mm,
Like, that's the stuff that then like starts hooking people in.
yeah.
But I completely agree with you. I think like the element of surprise now is taken away for a lot of things, and movies, theater, wrestling, for example. I think like in this day and age of technology, it's probably ruined a lot of the artistic arts to be able to give that element of surprise, really.
Yeah, and like that point you said, when Cody Rhodes announced he left AEW, everyone's like, "Oh, he'll be at WrestleMania," and
Yeah.
pretty much, and they'll be like, "Oh, Seth Rollins has an unnamed opponent for WrestleMania. I wonder who it's gonna be. Probably gonna
Yeah.
be Cody Rhodes." But like, not to deter from that. I mean, his pop when he showed up was phenomenal. But there's something to be said for the element of surprise in wrestling. Like where I can't remember what year it was, but it was in Florida, and it was when the New Day was hosting WrestleMania, and there was that
Yeah, I remember.
Raw ladder match, and everyone thought it was going to be the New Day as the final opponents, but it was the Hardys. And I love, they're my favorite things to look up on YouTube, wrestling pops, but not from
Yeah.
like the camera, from someone on their phone in the crowd. So for things like AJ Styles appearing for the first time at the Royal Rumble, deafening.
Yeah.
The Hardys showing up at Mania, insane. Like you, all the microphones pop, like basically peaked out on that kind of thing. That's the
Oh,
stuff that I
100%.
love the most.
Yeah, because that's the sort of shit. It's the element of surprise where it's like, as I said, the stuff that hooks you is that element of surprise. If you know what's going to happen, you kind of like, okay, cool. It's happened. It was cool. I can watch it, appreciate it. Good job, executed great. But you know what I mean. If you don't know what's happening, that's when you get the holy fucking shit, and everybody gets that reaction, and you get
Yeah.
that organic pop.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that differs me from like watching it like this and then like watching it like this. Like really
100%.
getting me in. Like I there's something to be said because the structure works. It's worked for decades now, and so it's not going to change. But there's always something to be said for just a little good surprise or something you just never predicted or expected every now and again. Just to it keeps you on your toes. You can't fall into like a complacent storytelling structure because eventually people are going to catch on and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
we know what's happening next. But no one saw Carter Deems joining SMS. Nobody. And it was wonderful. It was
And that would have fucked with your hardcore audience like just as much as well, though, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
No, that
it fucked with me when I saw it. I was just like, you motherfuckers. I popped for that shit because you know what I mean.
yeah,
I won't lie. I was sitting there. I was like, you fucks, like you fucking got me on that one.
you got me. Yeah,
But,
it's like not knowing how to do a magic trick, like watching one done right in front of you. You're just like, how did you? And they're like, I won't tell you. You're like, you son of a bitch. It's like I remember years ago, like actually this year will be 10 years ago, I went to a trip to Japan for 10 days.
yeah,
And on my very last day, I was in Tokyo and I was there's a funny story about that, but I'll get to that after. I found a magic bar and
oh, that's awesome.
basically, yeah, it's a tiny bar upstairs on the first floor and the bartenders were magicians. So basically, I was the only one in the room. We sat, we smoked a cigar, we had a chat, and then they
Yeah,
proceeded, they gave me a beer and they proceeded to give me a magic show. But like some of them were like really cool card tricks and stuff like that. But there was one trick I've never forgotten. He made me pull out some money and he gave me a blue and a red pen and I had to draw a fish on the money. And then he took
yeah,
the money, he put a cotton ball in the middle, he rolled it up, he lit it on fire. Then he just opened his hand over this big glass, almost like a goblet. It was very clear. So then, as he slowly opened his hand, a blue and a red fish pop out of his hand and start swimming in the bowl of water. He opens up the note of money, and I can see the outline of my drawing, but the actual ink is gone. So I was just like, "What the fuck have you done?" Anyway, then he made the money disappear, and he puts the fish to the side. And then he does some other shit. We're drinking, we're
yeah.
smoking, we're
Because
having
he
a good
makes the
time.
money disappear.
Right. Then he points to a bowl of fruit and he's like, "Oh, pick a fruit," and I pick like an orange or something. Basically, he cuts it open like it's a solid piece of fruit. I picked the fruit. He cuts it open, and inside is a rolled up note, and he
Yeah.
unravels it, and I can still see the outline of my pen mark on it. So I was like, "This is the same fucking note." It was the greatest thing I've ever seen. No idea how it was done, and I'm never going to know because I probably can't find that bar again if I tried. But
Yeah.
I'll always treasure it because I'll never know how they did it.
You know what? It's funny. I got a friend of mine who's a magician, and like he
Oh,
does like a lot of card tricks and shit. And like, but he'll do it, and like my wife pops for that shit all the time, but I would never pop for it, right? Because like I just no sell it all the whole time. So and he's like, dude, how come you never fucking like pop for my shit? I'm like, because I know it's just sleight of hand. I go, like, it's just, you know what I mean? It is what it is. And then he did a card trick where he did the same thing where he wrote like my initials on a card. And then next thing you know, the initials end up being on his hand in my hand. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like that's the shit I popped for, because I was like, what the fuck? I don't even want it. I'm not asking how you did it, but that was cool as shit.
Do you know the show Fool Us? It's an American TV show.
Love it.
With
Love it.
Penn and
Love
Teller.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those that I see and I'm like just like, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen. And like I love when they do know how they do it, but they speak in codes so that like us watching it, we have no idea what they said. But from the magician to them, they understand. They're like, okay, you know how I did my trick. I love stuff like
It's
that.
almost like Carney talk, right?
Yeah, so I was about to say that. Yeah, it's a lot like back in the days when people didn't know what the word kayfabe meant. Only wrestlers did.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of similarities. Pro wrestling is
like
everywhere.
that show, I love to just sit there and watch it, and I could like watch reruns of it for hours and just be entertained.
Yeah,
But you know,
it's so
dude,
good.
like, you know, for yourself, you know, getting into the world of pro wrestling, how did you originally get involved? Because you actually used to wrestle, you were saying before, right?
Yeah, actually, I had my first match back in 3.5 years last week at Newcastle for
No
the
shit.
house. Yeah. The Newey Pro, the House of Free Fighting. So I wrestled there. It was a lot of fun. I was
How'd you
very
fare?
nervous. I wasn't as gassed as I thought I would be by the end of the match. Like I still could breathe. So I was like, okay, I'm getting fit. That's good. And I've watched the match back already, and it was a lot of fun. Like doing it, getting to the back, I was like, I feel good. That was a lot of fun. I didn't do anything crazy, but at the same time, the story of the match got over. Everything went well. I was really happy. Thank you, Kyle. I had a great time, and the best part was it was the opening match. Love you too, 5e. Yeah, it was the opening match. So once I was done, I was just like, all right, give me a beer, give me a burger. I'm gonna watch the rest of the show. But I
Are
got
you
into wrestling through my acting. Funnily enough, yeah.
yeah, right.
So I got into an acting school, which was a university degree at UWS, which is now Western Sydney Uni. It was a Bachelor of Performance. So, because I was into acting since like the end of high school, and I still do acting now. And so I think in first or second year, part of the movement, part of the acting section of my degree, this guy named Lawrence came down and he did stage combat. So basically, it was making fights look real in the theater. So like when you would slap someone, you just pick the right angle and someone else would smack their hands and you would make it look like you got hit. And for me, my love for theater and my fondness for pro wrestling started to find a parallel during my acting training. And so I was like, oh yeah. And I naturally was very good at it. So I would
Yeah.
get really high marks in my stage combat stuff. And I was just like, because I'm like, yeah, this is like wrestling. And as I was growing up, like you get to that phase in wrestling where you're like, oh, this is cool. It's like, and someone tells you it's not real. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. It's not real. But then I kept watching it and I'd be like, oh, I get it. They're working together. This
Yeah.
is still pretty cool, you guys. Like, I don't know why you're trying to shit on it. So as my my studies in theater progressed, I ended up doing a physical theater course in Brisbane with a company called UNCENSORED, and they're basically a physical theater company. A lot of their shows devise they use texts as a base instead of a script, and they work on all kind of massively theatrical projects from that. And they had a 3-week intensive, so it was in the second week of January through to the end of January, Monday to Friday, like 8 till 4, and you just train in the practices that they train in, which one is the Suzuki actor training method, the American viewpoints method, and the Japanese Buto dance theater method. And like start of summer in those halls, you sweat like a motherfucker. But it was really eye-opening. And I kind of like after that 3 weeks, I was like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna do wrestling. I'm gonna give it a fucking go. And I was 21 at the time, so I was already pretty old to start training at that time. And a few weeks later, I I got back to Sydney. I sent some emails, and the first one that got back to me was AWF. So I was like, I'd like to start training, and they'd be like, great, come on down. And so I went, and I just kept going from there. I was the oldest one in my class by far, but out of all of them, Merch Girl Sam and I are the only two left that are still involved in wrestling. That's 21, that's 13 years ago. So
Wow. And how did you find, like, once you broke it, like started training, at AWF? Because AWF is a lot of people who got their start down there.
mm.
But how did you find the whole training process? Like actually going in there and taking bumps? Like, was the combat stage training like similar to that? Like, did you have to learn how to do like break falls and stuff like that? So we
Yeah,
prepared.
the stage combat stuff was more like, this is how something looks and this is how you make it look good. And then, there were a couple of roles and that involved when I was training that stuff. So rolling in a ring, even though it was a kickboxing ring with padding, like rolling, I was like, do a roll. I'm like, okay, great. Like that's the easy stuff. Break falling, I got the hang of it. Like many rookies, I had very bruised elbows for a couple of weeks because I was doing it wrong all the time.
Yeah.
But that's like, I always kept a notebook. So every week I would write down every single thing we did and I'd read over it. I'm like, okay, cool. But eventually, because I was familiar with my physical theater training and my previous like actor training, I physiologically speaking, my body learned things quickly. So I didn't have to constantly think of like, oh, I got to put my hands like this and tuck my chin when I bump. It's like, no, okay. My body remembered that you have to do this whenever you get hit and whenever you fall and stuff like that. So my muscle memory was faster than most. So like I learned to do things quick, and once I got the hang of it, I was like, okay, I don't need to think so hard every time I do this thing. My body just knows how to do it now. So yeah, I progressed pretty quickly, but I also have immense stage fright. Being an actor, it's ironic, but I think I nearly had a full year until my first match. So I passed like maybe 7 months in, but then I was just happy to do ring crew, be a rookie, go to training, keep going to training. Diego, you want to have a match? Nah, I can wait. It's fine. I just kept training and having training matches, and eventually I was put into a storyline with a faction then known as the Multicultural Society, led by Tama Williams. And so I was set to join that. So I was like, all right, TNT was just like, Diego, you and me are going to wrestle at the next show. I was like, oh, okay, great. And yeah, beat the shit out of me. Like I got a concussion, but
Really?
yeah. I got punted like a Randy Orton punt. I just saw black.
Oh,
I looked up at the ceiling and I was like, oh shit, we were halfway through the match, and I was like, all right, keep going. And eventually it was fine. Like then afterwards, I'm outside. I'm like, I want to sleep, and they're like, no, you can't sleep. But
was it
like
an accident, or did like
it was
did
just a bit stiff, and I was a rookie. Like it was fine. Like it was it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to me in a ring. So it was
no?
no, it's neither
I
here
mean,
nor there.
accidents happen, right? So
Exactly. Like I've had my arm broken, but I had my arm broken before the first Black Label show in Parramatta RSL with who was there? It was Bad Luck Fale. So while that show was on, I was still in emergency getting my arm put in a cast. I was like, damn it.
oh shit.
Yeah, well, I've got a metal plate
But dude,
in.
like,
Yeah.
so once you had that first match, like, did you like in front of the live crowd? Did you get over that stage fright and you're like, oh shit, this is something I want to do again and again?
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I've done it. I know what I need to do to prepare, and I'm like, I'm ready to keep doing it. It's yeah, I take it to the same way as I take when I do plays, and that it's not like, oh my god, I need to wrestle my next match. I'm just like, all right, the next one's gonna be great. Can't wait. Let's do it. And they were like, all right, you're doing this stuff now. You're in this storyline. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go. And I was always super keen, so I was always doing ring crew. I still do ring crew just because I get bored. So I'm just like, I'm here. I'm just gonna move some stuff. Let's get shit done. I'm that kind of person now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's always good to just get in and help. I do the same thing. When I'm at shows, just if I'm there, I'm there. I might as
Mm,
well, lend a hand moving some shit. It just
yeah.
it goes a long way with people, I feel. But as far as like wrestling goes, like how long were you actually in or like, up until 3 years ago you said like you had was your last match?
Yeah, so end of God, I can't remember the year, but I was 21. So it would be 2009. I had it was November 2009 I had my first match, or December, and
Yeah.
I left for Canada in January of 2019. So
Right.
just
And
over
that's when
10 years.
wrestling stopped.
Sorry?
Yeah, wow. So that's
Yeah.
when you stopped wrestling when you made the move to Canada. But so the ring announcing side of things, how did that sort of transition for you, like from being like wrestler to ring announcer?
Yeah, okay. So uh I don't know if you're familiar with J Law, the wrestler.
I know that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he started a school in Penrith called the Australian Pro Wrestling Gym. And because that was at the time affiliated with AWF, I went and trained there. And basically, for a long time, I was like the only student. And eventually, more and more came. And J Law and I became, best friends. Like I recently just went to his wedding. And so what happened then is we got a bunch of trainees, and they started training. And one of them was Paris. And so eventually, Paris had his first match for PWA at Rudy Hill RSL. So I was like, oh, I'm going to come, I'm going to watch, it's going to be great. And JT Robinson was the announcer. And the main event for that match was Robbie Eagles versus Ricky South. And he made some kind of announcement at the end that there'd be like some kind of a tables match or a triple threat table match
Yeah.
for the heavyweight championship, which just wasn't going to happen. And I remember the show ended. I said hi to people because I knew everyone by then. And I was talking to the promoter. I was like, hey, man, like I'm a trained actor. I've been acting for like longer than I've been wrestling. Why don't you let me be the announcer for the next show? And the next show was the one with Will Ospreay, Call to Arms, at Paddington RSL. That the kind of the big one that started everything, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
so he was like, okay, sure. Because I was just like, I think I can do a really good job of this because it's just me talking, presenting stuff, which I can do, but it's also me having to like remember weight, name, from, nicknames, blah blah blah. I'm like, I know how to remember my lines. That's not difficult for me. So I was like, I can do this, and that's one less thing for you to stress out about. It's like I'll handle this, and it went well. It went really well, I guess, because I got to ad lib a little bit, which before we started live streaming, I got to like interact with the crowd a lot more in between matches, and I give a little
Yeah.
shtick, make a little joke here and then, banter, and that's when the people started making comments about my shoes, and so that's when that got us. I was like, all right, I'm getting over just by wearing these shoes. So I was like, all right, sweet. So I kept doing that, and it just kept getting better. Uh, like it's, I don't really want to. I don't really feel like hyping it up. I'm like, I'm a great announcer. I'm just
No,
good at
no,
my
no.
job. I'm just good at my
Yeah,
job.
like
That's
you
it.
are. You're very like, but the thing is as well, like when you do it, it sounds so natural. You're not looking down on at cue cards or anything like that. Like it is it's very professionally done. Like you were very good at what you do. Like there's no hands about it. But as far as like from being an in-ring performer to being a ring announcer, you started doing that. Were you missing the wrestling, or were you still doing the wrestling on the side for other companies?
I was still doing a little bit on the side. Like I'd still wrestle for when we were doing our little pro wrestling gym like academy shows of our own. I was wrestling for Wrestling Go, and I was wrestling at Newcastle a little bit, but I was never like involved in major storylines. I was always just popped in whenever there was a spot. And I was like, hey, Diego, do you want to do
Yeah,
this? I was like, yeah, happy to. And so I started announcing more, and I was having this conversation with Melissa Santos when she was here with the rest of World Series Wrestling, because we both co-announced the Penrith Panthers show. And people ask us like, do you miss being in the ring as opposed to announcing? I was like, it's a whole different thing. Like, because both are incredibly fun, but for completely different reasons. And So I can't say which I prefer more, but I'm always happy doing either. And it's
Yeah.
weird that I didn't expect myself to get over so much as like it's Diego, he's an announcer, but it did. So I just ran with it pretty much.
Yeah, and I think that that's the like you see that PWA crowd, they really sort of give an appreciation to everyone that's involved, like from ring announcers, commentators, even like referees get a pop when they come into the ring at the start of matches. But that's the sort of shit you don't necessarily see at every single different wrestling company. Like, and that's what
No,
makes it special.
I think with that it's started to we've built a culture around PWA in terms of the crowd and everyone they see around. Like everyone knows Sam, Merch Girl Sam. Everyone knows her.
Yeah,
Everyone knows Smez, the photographer,
yeah,
because it's part of we bit by bit we've just instead of just being you're coming to a wrestling show, it's like you're coming to Black Label. You know everyone here. You're here to have a good time. I remember before I left, I would see fans that would like regular fans start to interact with each other. They'd be like, "Hey, how are you?" Like they don't know each other outside of wrestling, but they've started to build a rapport because they see each other all the time at Black Label shows, and
yeah,
that's what made me really happy. And I think that's why I liked the Metro so much because even though it's somewhere new, it's building on that culture. The one of the big problems I've had, this is not with just wrestling, this is with theater in Sydney I've seen since the 15 odd years I've been an actor, is that there's no nightlife afterwards. So you'll go to a show, be it a wrestling show or a play, and once it's over, it kind of feels like your night has ended. And
yeah.
there was a really good article years ago about the comparison to the Sydney live theatre slash music scene and the Melbourne scene. And the thing with the play, like where performance venues are in Melbourne, there could be a cafe or a bar right across the street. So your night's over, you finish seeing a show, you guys are like, what do you want to do? You can go do something else. You can go to a bar. Your night isn't over. You can go have fun in the rest of the city, which is why I loved the Metro so much because for fans, your night's not over. You've just seen a great show. Awesome. You don't have to go home. Now you can go across the street to the arcade that's underneath the movies, or go to the bar, or go up the street and enjoy the rest of the nightlife that's there. Like with plays like the Sydney Theatre Company and the Opera House, they're so far
Oh,
away from
100%.
everything that usually people are just going home straight away. So what I want the most is for the wrestling culture to become part of the night culture, not just be this is our event, our night's over. It's like show's over, let's go talk about it and get drunk at the bar across the street.
Yeah. But you know what? That's because, like, I think the lockout laws that really hit Sydney, had fucked a lot of places up.
Oh, it
Really,
did.
because, like, that's where it came into. I think that and really ruined that sort of after party live atmosphere as well. It's like, for example, you and I and a group of people could go out for dinner, have amazing conversation, have a couple of bottles of wine. Hey, we want to go to a nice wine bar and continue this conversation over another bottle of red. Oh, sorry, it's 10 o'clock at night, you can't be sold any more alcohol. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous to a certain degree, but I think that certain things are changing and opening up. I don't know much about the nightlife anymore, but comparing Sydney to Melbourne, it's like comparing apples to a fucking shovel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's completely different.
yeah, 100%. Like I used to live in Potts Point, so like I would walk through King's Cross, go around the fountain, and go home. And I would sometimes be coming home at like 4 a.m. because I used to work at the Ivy in the pool club, so I would work very late and just walk home. And
Yep.
it was pumping at 4 a.m. Like it was going off. And I'd since moved out and I went to see a play in King's Cross at King's Cross Theatre, and it was like 8 p.m. And I got there early, so I thought, oh, I'll walk around a bit. And it was absolutely dead. I'm like, it's a Saturday night. Where is
Yeah.
everybody? And where has everybody gone? Like, 'cause everything's closed. Nightclubs have become apartment buildings. The little pub where I learned to play poker, completely gone. I was just like, it's these little places that made the nightlife, and now they're, because of lockout laws, losing business. They all shut down.
Yeah.
It just pretty much killed it.
I mean, it was all made to be around making money over retail for me that I saw, because that's what you see. Like years ago, I remember I used to work security in the Cross,
Mm.
and I'd start at 11 o'clock at night, and you could not get from one end of the Cross with another without, fuck, excuse me, you know what I mean? Like you're literally dodging through people.
Yeah.
And then, like a couple of years ago, I remember going out for dinner with my wife. She was pregnant at the time. It was somewhere near the Cross. And I said, "I'll drive you home. Let's just drive through King's Cross. I miss it.
Yeah.
And it was like 9 o'clock at night. And literally, same thing as you. It was a fucking ghost town, dude. Like it was no one around. And I'm just like, seriously? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
It was a little heartbreaking, but what can you do? Like
Hey, man.
it take a lot to rebuild the nightlife in Sydney, particularly. But
Yeah, I think it'll just take time, man, because Sydney used to be such a fucking hot spot for like tourism and stuff like that. But now, like, that probably affects tourism, dollars as well, because who wants to come to Sydney and be in bed by fucking midnight? You know what I mean? Like, when you come, you're in your early 20s and coming from Brazil or England or wherever over the world, you're coming to Australia, you want to party and drink the night away,
yep,
and you're not going to get it in Sydney.
no, not anymore.
But dude, like, what was the big catalyst meaning for you to move over to Canada from Australia? Because, like, what was the reason for you to just go, I'm going to pick up and just move country? Because that's huge.
Yeah. So one of my friends had actually moved to Vancouver, and she told me it was awesome, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And the thing about Vancouver is it's got the nickname Hollywood North because a lot of American projects film in Vancouver because Vancouver is very famous for being able to look like any city they want it to. It's very malleable in terms of of how you want to make it look. And I was like, well, I might give this a go. Like, because in Sydney, my acting career wasn't going that hot because culturally speaking, there's only so many roles they can fit a short Latino kid for. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go to Vancouver and see what I can do. And the visa cutoff for the working holiday was 30 and I was 29. So I was like, fuck it, it's now or never. So I just applied and I was like, okay, cool, got it. So then I went. I was like, all right, and it was almost like a band-aid. Instead of like umming and ahhing and thinking about it for so long, the fact that I didn't have time to think about it, I was just like, yep, gotta do it now. Okay, I'm going. Which which actually I think was better for me than if I was like 26 or 27 thinking, oh, do I want to go now? I've got so much stuff on. I don't know. Like maybe like, no, don't have a choice. Do it now or don't at all. And the funny thing is, once I got it, they had actually lifted the age to like 34 or 35 as soon as I got
Wow.
it. But I'm very grateful I did it now because it was, even though I didn't really succeed in what I went to do, in the great cliche, I truly discovered myself. I know who I am and what I want, and I had the time of my life. So I can't see where I went wrong there. Like I think failing in my attempts to build my acting career may have been the best possible thing that could have ever happened to me in terms of perspective and knowing how to do the shit I actually want to get done now.
Yeah. It's learning from it though, and to have that experience to go and live in another country where you've been like, what, it's just, and making the decisions like, what, it's got to be done right now or not at all, as well. Like, as soon as you start umming and ahhing over something, you were never gonna get it done. As soon as you're
Exactly.
like, yeah, I'll push this off for next week or year or whatever, it never gets done. But the fact that you just went, yep, gonna do it. How did you find culturally like the difference between Australia and Canada? Because like Canada's a kind of like the Australians of America, really, as I call it, to some of my Canadian friends. That upsets them a little bit, but they're very similar in culture. I find the Canadians and Australians.
They are, yeah. I fit in pretty easily, to be honest. There, it's a very. I think one of the interesting things I was told. Hello, Josh. Is that people will be friendly to you, but not everyone is going to be your friend. So like the culture is that like we'll be nice to each other, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be mates. Like
Yeah.
I found my group of friends, and it all came very organically. But in terms of living there, it's similar to America in terms of wages. Like it's a very low paying. The minimum wage is quite low because they have cash, because they have tips. There's a tipping system.
Yeah.
So you get your bill. You always add like 20% or something on tip for your server. Everyone's called a server. They're not waiters. But you kind of get used to it. And, I got used to it, except, my very first job, I was working at part of this food chain and I was getting $12 an hour. And I'm in that job. And I'm like, I'm 30 years old getting $12 an hour. This is bullshit. I need something else. And then I got a different job with a friend at a restaurant. So I was just in the back doing dishes for a while. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm making enough. I'm surviving. And eventually I got a job in a casino as a blackjack dealer, which
no way.
was fucking awesome. I
could
didn't
just
know
see you as a blackjack dealer for some reason, like in the fucking like the bow tie and shit. That's the sort of shit I can see you fucking doing.
I was really good at it. It was so funny, like, because like you got to be quick with adding and numbers and that. And I was like, yep, that's fine. I'm good at numbers. But a Saturday night on a $5, $10, or $25 blackjack table, that was a fun night because my seats would be full, and like I'd be dealing cards and people would be chatting because they just come from the game because there was a stadium across the street. So they'd come over, they'd have some drinks, they'd have their jerseys on. I'm like, all right, how are we all? What are we playing? Let's go. And I'd always make it like if they were a fun crowd, I'd make a big deal. I'd be like, all right, 2, 7, 12, 15. And before I pull the last card, I'm like, what do you guys want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Boom, too many. And they're all cheering and I pay them. Or it's like, oh, I'm sorry, 21. And I take all their money. But like, if I made it fun, then they kind of they were having a good time, which is, I just like to banter and just play off what I'm feeling with people, which is my approach to announcing as well, which is I think is why it goes over so well every time, because I'm not saying the same thing in my head every time I start a show. I'm just like, all right, here we are. Let's do it. Let's see how we go. And the fun part now is, even though I can't really banter because we're on a live stream and like I've just got to announce the next match and we got to fit everything in time. When the show's over and we're off the air, I get to, give a little speech, or I get to say goodbye the way I want to, which is what I did at the Metro. Unfortunately, it's not recorded, so no one can, see it. But like, I like to hype up everybody. I like to say, man, this was awesome. You're all awesome. This is great. Like, we're in the fucking Metro Theater. Like, this is the start of something that's going to be fucking great. And I think that leaves everyone with a on a nice high note, and fuck off and enjoy.
Oh, 100%. Like send people home happy, just have a nice little sort of farewell. It's definitely the right way to wrap it up, I feel, to send people home with a smile. But I have got this gentleman's comment up here, and I just wanted to say a special shout out to Joshua Tattersall. He's a young guy who last year or the last year or so has been struggling health-wise with leukemia. Man, this kid powered through it. He got through it. He's a true superstar and a true hero, man. He watches this show. He's a diehard fan of everything Australian wrestling, and including this podcast, which I am so appreciative to have him as one of my loyal listeners and viewers. Recently he did just get some bad health news where the cancer has come back. And Josh, from me personally, bro, you got this. Keep pushing through. Keep pushing forward. You beat it once, and you'll beat the fucking thing again, bro. I love you, and I'm always here for you, bro. And please let me know if there's anything I can do.
You're the fucking man, Josh. You're the fucking man.
Absolutely. But dude, like, now that you're back doing, ring announcing, you had the match last week the other week that you mentioned. Firstly, who did you wrestle? Who did you work in this match? Because that's kind of what I want to get.
I wrestled the sheriff, Jake Walker.
That's epic.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the show Reno 911?
Yeah. I love that show.
That's basically him.
Dangle.
Yeah, he's Dangle. He's got the mustache, the glasses, and the hat. It's phenomenal. I love it. I
That's
love the
fucking
whole gimmick.
But what was your gimmick? Like, did you come out as
Oh,
Diego? Like,
yeah, I
like
just came out as myself because I kind of had my gimmick, you know, beforehand, where I'd wear my skull mask and I'd come out and try to be a badass. But I was like, that version of Diego is retired. So like the final
yeah,
form of that Diego is announcer Diego. So I don't really feel the need to be like, oh, I'm gonna try be someone else. I'm like, no, okay, you know who Diego is. I'm like, so I'm just gonna present myself as myself and then just wrestle like that. Because there's no point in me trying to be like, oh, I'm really tough, I'm really mean. But I was like, that's Diego. No, you're not. You can't trick us into that. So it's just like, if I just present as myself, I can actually get away with doing a lot more. And
yeah,
yeah, I'm happy to just be a part of it again. I'm not looking to. I think Cherry Stevens asked me this. She's like, "What do you want to do now?" It's like basically, I just want to have fun. That's all I really want. Like I'm not gonna be like looking for do you need it's like really hustling for bookings. I'm just like, look, man, when you need me, I'm here and I'm willing to work whatever you need. I'm just happy to be a spoke in the wheel.
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, man. Like to be able to be someone who can do so many different things. Where let's go on to ring announcing. Be hey, we need someone in this tag match. Can you go and fill in here? Hey, we need someone on commentary. I feel like having someone like you around is such a valuable asset because there's so many different avenues and fields that you can cover.
Yeah, I got to actually commentate with Ed Lock for the Newcastle Brawl at City Hall, and I had so much fun. Like you have no idea. Like it's just him and I upstairs with a little light on our notes, and we're just going back and forth. And I remember before the show, he was like, "So what do you want to do?" Like I do this. I was like, "All right, you do this, I'll do this, and then we'll see how we go." And
Yeah.
it flowed so naturally. It was so much fun, and yeah, I think that's the joy I found in wrestling now because I'm a bit older. I'm not going to do crazy stuff to my body, but I've since coming back, and all the soul searching and shit I did in Canada, I know where to find the joy in shit I like. So like I don't have to be wrestling all the time. I can be announcing. I can be commentating. I like to be in the room, and I have so much more fun now doing anything, which is it's so much more liberating for me in terms of wrestling and the rest of my life in general. Like I just have a lot better time.
But dude, that's the thing. Like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing with this thing, it's that thing. It's like no one's like making career money on an indie level. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
that you have to have that love and passion for it. I get the same thing, dude. Anytime I'm on a show, I get that few hours before I get that excitement come over me because, like, dude, it's a cool fucking thing that we get to be a part of, bro. Like, I can't lie, it
Yeah,
is really fucking cool. And especially to be around it and be around it with such other cool people that everyone's like really chilled and welcoming as well. It makes it for an enjoyable time and it's something that you look forward to, you know?
yeah, and it builds a much more positive culture. Like I know a lot of younger wrestlers now feel that kind of sense of like a bit deflated and maybe demotivated or stagnated in terms of their progression, and they're like, what do I do to bring that fire back? And usually I'm just like, go do anything else that's not wrestling related,
Yeah.
because one, you'll probably really enjoy it, and two, you'll come back with that like joie de vivre, and you'll put it into your wrestling instead of trying to find something from wrestling to bring the fun in. Bring the fun from your outside life and whatever it is you like to do, then bring that into wrestling, and it'll show. Like it will help bring you back to where you want to be.
Yeah, it brings that enjoyment out, and I think that sometimes you have to disconnect from this thing. Every once in a while, even if it's something
Yeah,
else, watch a movie or watch something that isn't wrestling related.
yeah,
Because otherwise, if you just go full into it 100% with everything, you are going to become stagnated. You are going to become, just complacent with it, really.
I agree. I like the idea of always just some days taking a break from it and just coming back to it when you want to. I think that's the best thing you can possibly do. Like one of the oldest bit of wrestling advice I ever got was wrestling doesn't owe you shit, and it's harsh, but it's true. Like you, we just give everything to it. We give our bodies, we give our hearts, we give our time, and sometimes we sacrifice a lot of other personal relationships for it, and
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't reciprocate all the effort we put in. So sometimes it's best to just separate a bit from it, and when you come back refreshed, come back ready, and come back with a bit more of an open mind, maybe, and see where it takes you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. 5-star flash. Come to FWA, Diego, please. First of all, fuck you, Fivey, because I was your last ring announcer, you prick.
No, you should
I'm
stay the
kidding.
ring announcer. I'll wrestle. You can announce.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll announce you. Yeah, and that'd be intimidating for me announcing you,
No,
though, bro.
no, no. Here's the thing. Like everyone's like, "Oh God, like I don't want to announce thing." I'm like, I'm not. I'm not the gatekeeper of announcing in wrestling. Okay, like I said,
No, I don't mean
I'm
it like that. But you're
I'm
pretty
just good at
fucking good at
yeah. I'm good at my job. That's fine. I'm no gatekeeper. Like I've actually suggested at PWA we start to get more announcers purely because in this world of COVID and that say the last minute someone can't do something. It's like okay, so we have people ready to go just in case. Like we have JT's always ready. We had Jack Aubrey do an Academy show, and we've even had Nick Ray be announcer for another Academy show. Like I endorse the idea of having more people learn how to announce and host the show in terms because I think the more the merrier, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think it's a good way to be, especially like, as you said, in a world of COVID, having people on standby that can fill those roles. Shout out to PWA. If you do guys do need an extra person, I am available to step in there. But short plug. But dude, like as far as now, being able to go and adapt into that. You mentioned commentary, getting a chance to sit down with Ed Locke. Is commentary something that you'd want to look at getting involved in as well?
Now that I've done
And
it,
doing,
yeah, why not? It's fun. I enjoy it.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm very much more in the present now. So if someone brings something to me that I can't possibly find, something to clearly object to, I'm like, fuck it, I'll give it a try. Why not? It can't hurt. And if I
Yeah.
don't like it, I just won't do it again.
Yeah, commentating to me is like it's nerve wracking. The first, like I mean, like it is nerve wracking to a certain extent, but when you've got someone pretty good, by your side helping you through it and being able to get through it, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've only done like 5 or 6 shows, so I'm still green. I wouldn't call myself a fucking veteran at commentator. You know what I mean? Like I'm no Jim
Yeah.
Ross.
Yeah.
But like getting it's a lot of fun to do. Like as soon
Yeah.
as you can be in the moment, you've got someone you can banter with as well. It makes for a great night.
But and it's also hard kind of navigating when like you talk about the action specifically in the ring as opposed to like, the story of the match or what's been happening before that or after. So like navigating that while watching the match, it can be really hard. I'm like, oh, thank God I've got Ed Locke for that time because I was color, he was a play-by-play. So I was like, all right, follow it. I just kind of followed him and took. Sometimes I would take the lead, and sometimes we just talk about different shit while the match was going on. It's it's a constant balance. You really like once you do it, you kind of really acknowledge that how good the people on TV really are.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
And but you know what? You also until you've done it, you don't realize how hard it is.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like you know what I mean? Like I've gone back and looked at shows that I've commentated on for FWA and PWA, and like even like I walk out and go, yeah, I think I did really well. Then I go and watch it, and I'll go, fuck.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
you're always critical of what you do,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like it is very it's challenging, but enjoyable at the same time.
yeah. No one can say shit about Michael Cole ever,
No,
ever.
no. 100%. Him and JR as well. Like remember when JR like turned around, welcome everybody to Monday Night Raw on AEW, and people like crucified him for it. I'm like,
Like, fuck
fuck,
you. You
man,
can't
live TV, like fuck off. Like the guy's
leave
done
him
this
be.
for 40 fucking years. Like he
Yeah.
can make a mistake.
He's like, I don't know how old he is, but he's really old. He survived a stroke. He survived, like, his wife has passed away. Leave him the fuck alone. He makes a mistake. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, you internet Mike, just leave him the fuck alone. No one gives a shit. And in
To
my
be honest, I
opinion,
actually think he did it on purpose just to pop the boys at WWE, to be honest.
that would be even better. I would love that. I
My
think
God, tune in.
my favorite commentary team of all time. Oh, actually, I can't pick. Like, I can pick my favorites. I can't think of one top team. But like, I started watching wrestling through WCW. So Mike Tenay and Tony Schiavone were like the best. And so the fact that I can hear Tony Schiavone now on AEW is like, it just lights up my heart. And when I was watching TNA with Mike Tenay and Don West, they were fucking fantastic. And then like, everyone says JR and the King, but I'm like Michael Cole and Taz and Michael Cole and JBL. They went fucking hard.
But you know what? Like I always say JR and King, but I reckon when you put Paul Heyman in there, like Paul Heyman, like there's certain things that he did where he pushed that fucking line, man. But even Joey Styles, like doing shows solo.
Yes, he would do them on
like
his own.
Dude, I recorded a match for AWF doing commentary on just one of their matches that I was asked to do. And I was like, and it was by myself, and I commentated, and I was like, this is so fucking difficult. And the fact to do it by himself for a fucking 3-4 hour show, I just sit there and go, like, dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. He's so good.
Like, dude, they had a guy like in America in XPW just had their deathmatch show, California, a little while ago, and it was a 7-hour show. And the commentator, Chris Kloss, was he was a solo commentator. And I'm pretty sure he was the ring announcer as well.
No, that is insane.
Yeah, 7-hour show, dude.
I did that for one PWA show, commentary and announcing. And I was like, this is too hard. What a change.
Dude, I did that for FWA the other week.
Really?
They did 2 nights, on Friday, Saturday night. I did ring announcing and I was doing commentary. And it was like I'm doing heel color, but then I'm going in and ring announcing. So it's like it just felt fucking awkward, bro. Like that's why I was like, yeah, this is I'm ring announcing and then I'm burying not burying, but you know what I mean, like getting the heels open.
That's
but I was
great.
like, all right, this is just. But yeah, like it was, but I was like continually sweating. It was like it was so hot. But that's the one thing, man. It's doing double duty. My voice was fucked at the end of it.
Yeah, it would be shit. Like I've
But
now gone back to doing like my vocal warm ups backstage because I'm like I'm gonna be fucked by the end of the show.
oh, dude, after the show, I'm gonna have to get some tips on you for that because like I've had my voice has just been shot after a couple of shows I've done. So, but it is getting to that time. It is time for 60 seconds with Piers. The crowd at the MWA home studio is going off. They love this. How this works, everybody, if you haven't seen this before, I'm going to fire a bunch of questions at Diego. He's got 60 seconds to answer as many as he fucking possibly can. Diego, when you're ready, we'll get the clock started, my friend.
Let's go.
Home barbecues or nightclubs?
Home barbecues.
Favorite song to sing at karaoke?
I Will Survive.
Name a gross meal combo that you love that no one else does.
Meat pies and chocolate milk.
Would you rather appear on Home and Away or Neighbours?
Home and Away.
If you were to release an album, what genre of music would it be?
Pop and hip hop.
Would you rather fight 2 horse-sized ducks or 100 duck-sized horses?
2 horse-sized ducks.
Plain fairy bread or fairy bread with Nutella?
Nutella.
One has to go. Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter?
Game of Thrones.
In 5 minutes, you are being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
my Nintendo Switch, and my laptop.
There you go. That is 60 seconds with Piers. Diego has gone through it. We got it done. Diego, this hour has just sort of flown by. I definitely want to get you on for a part 2. It's been very, very enjoyable having you on, dude. But where can everyone find you on social media, support you? Do you have merch available for people as well?
I don't have merch. I might actually bring back my old merch now that I'm wrestling again. It was an art piece by this guy on Instagram who would come to Black Label shows, and I actually put it on a T-shirt with his permission. I gave him one, and it's really cool. I might bring it back. But for my socials, Instagram is @Diego. Same for Twitter, and yeah, that's basically it.
Well, there you go, guys. Make sure you go and follow Diego on social media. Make sure you go to a PWA show and check out what these guys are doing. You always hear me putting over PWA. If you go to a show and Diego's working, make sure you go buy him a beer at the end of the show. The ring announcing is hard work and it's thirsty work, and he deserves it. He appreciates a free beer, so make sure you go and get him one. Huge shout out to our sponsors, healthvape.com and sleeves.com. Use promo codes MWAPod to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow for Killing the Business at 10 a.m. Australian time, 8 p.m. Thursday night, USA Eastern time. This Sunday at 10 a.m. Australian time, which will be 8 p.m. Saturday night, I'm sitting down with Ian Rotten, the IWA Mid-South promoter, former ECW original. Make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be a great conversation. He's a very interesting dude, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. But guys, as the bottom says, please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell to stay notified. And guys, until next time, we'll see you again very soon. Diego, don't go anywhere, but we'll talk soon. Peace.